All right. Dandavat pranam. So tried for like more than half an hour, I think, or almost half an hour trying to get the video to work, and it just didn't. So I see it's not meant to be today that we read Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But now that I've finally managed to get it to work, I thought maybe we could read the foreword to Rasa-pancadhyayi, which is from an article by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. I think it was in the Raise of the Harmonists. It's called Raising the Divine Temple of the Bhagavat, but they gave a different title here. Anyhow, let me see. Okay, cool. It's live on Facebook. Let me see if there's still mic problems, because that's what happened when I went live last time. I'm just sharing the link in the group. All right, let's see. Okay, let me know. Hare Krishna Raj Bhuvan Yadav ji. Is my mic working now? Is the sound okay? Because it wasn't working last time, right? Haribo, Bhavatarani Mataji and Ganga Didi. So the mic is working now, yeah? I'm guessing so. All right, so let's read. Okay, great. So let's read this article. This is the foreword to this Rasa-pancadhyayi that we've been reading. It's by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura Prabhupāda's special discourse on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th Canto. Śrī Gauḍīya Maṭha, Calcutta, 17th May 1930. This is first published in the Weekly Gauḍīya, Volume 8, number 41. Okay. And we will continue with the reading that we were supposed to have today. We'll continue with that tomorrow. There is a great necessity to write a special commentary on the 10th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for those who earnestly thirst to serve transcendent beauty. One second. Sorry. Okay. Dang it. Okay, sorry. Let me restart that. There is a great necessity to write a special commentary on the 10th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for those who earnestly thirst to serve transcendent beauty. Such an exposition will not be a display of the pompous language that big scholars utter in their dissertations on the 10th canto, nor will it be the exhibition of the imitationists, the prakrit sahajas, who accept their cheaply conceived fantasies as part of absolute reality. Therefore, those in whom ardent spiritual greed has arisen will certainly want to read this book. In this world, there is no treatise like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It is not hearsay or mythology. If a person follows the deliberations of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam without material motivation, he will understand that there is no text that can ever compare to this scripture, now or in the future. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam presents in sequence the progressively evolved conceptions of the Absolute. The preliminary conception is doubt in the existence of any supreme truth, samshaya. Next comes denial of the personal Absolute, nastikya. Then acceptance of the Absolute as impersonal and featureless, nirgun. The theory that God is but is neuter, kliva. The potent Godhead, purush, and then the potent and his potency, mithuna. The conception next evolves to swakiya, the eternal matrimony of supreme male and his consort, and finally parakiya, the paramour conception of the divine couple. In the 10th canto, Sri Krishna's pastimes, the main subject of this book, are described. So what was the need of presenting the first 9 cantos? They come first to make a platform to highlight the fact that Sri Krishna is the completely independent autocrat. His loving affairs are the paramount subject of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The first 9 cantos presents the rudimentary theories of doubt up to the conception of conjugal love of God. And in the 10th canto, in chapters like Gopi Geet, the paramour conception is revealed. Before the advent of Sriman Mahaprabhu, many persons used to study Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But only those who have read the Bhagavatam after delving into his biographical anthology, Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita, authored by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the foremost follower of Srila Rupa Goswami, only that person will be able to take to heart the real intention and explicit theme of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We really need to read Chaitanya Charitamrita, huh? We'll do that after Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The professional orators and Prakrit Sahajya's explanations of the Bhagavatam actually cover the true conceptions of Srila Rupa Goswami presented in Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita. The genuine commentary of the 10th canto will not be written in that way. Countless Sahajyas have delivered misleading commentaries simply for the gratification of general people. Thus, they have cleared a path to hell for themselves and others. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the fully matured, succulent fruit of the wish-fulfilling Vedas, which are the source of aggregate knowledge and wisdom. Nigamakalpataror galitam phalam Shukamad amritadrava sangyutam Pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam Muhur aho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. At Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 113. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the mature, succulent fruit of the wish-fulfilling tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami, and it has willingly descended upon this earth in its entirety through the disciplic succession of bona fide gurus. It is saturated with the supremely pleasing ambrosial nectar of transcendental emotion, ras. It is completely liquid, having no skin, hard seed, fibers, or other parts to be discarded, and thus is fully drinkable. O great devotees, you who are bhavuk, well acquainted with the transcendental nectarian emotions of divine love, and rasik, expert in relishing all the specific forms of liquefied ambrosia of transcendental emotion, even when you are fully liberated, you should repeatedly drink the sweet nectar of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. I think the word you is missing here, right? You should drink. Indeed, the supremely liberated souls perpetually relish this grand treatise. I'm just saying, Hare Krishna, everybody. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Premavati, Didi. All right. The word Nigama means Vedas. They are likened to a wish-fulfilling tree. The Vedas easily yields the fruit of whatever one may aspire for with resolve. Seculars resolve to pursue the ordinary fourfold Vedic goals, namely dharma, mundane religiosity and righteousness, followed by artha, resultant prosperity, kama, sensual exploit of the facilities afforded by prosperity, and at last, moksha, the absolute cessation of consequent material sufferings. On the other hand, those who have abandoned sensual enjoyment, bhukti, as well as the pursuit of emancipation from suffering, mukti, and who have factually crossed beyond the realm of corporeal perception, they never aspire for these unpalatable or tasteless things. The fruit of workers, the karmis, who are full of selfish motives, crave that which is distorted and repugnant, while the adherents of monism, jnanis, try to realize dry and tasteless absolute non-distinction. but the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam will never yield repugnant or tasteless fruit. Within the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the increasing excellence of the intrinsic love between the Supreme Lord, Vishai and Sevya, and his servitors, Ashray and Sevak, is readily traced through each of the successive stages from contracted, Sankuchit, to slightly budding, Ishat Mukulit, developing or flowering, Pushpit, expanding or blooming, Vardit, mature or fully developed, Paripushta, and finally, profusely exuberant or perfected, Prapakva. Similarly, as the wish-fulfilling tree of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam unfolds, all conceptions of the Supreme Absolute are chronicled as they evolve through doubt, the denial of the Absolute, the impersonal Absolute, the personal but impotent God, the potent with his potency, the conception of conjugal love with the Supreme, and finally, the superlative conception of Parakya, the Supreme as paramour. For one who anxiously longs to serve transcendent beauty through the Parakya conception, there is no entity that can award the fruit of their determined endeavor other than the wish-fulfilling tree of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This holds true in the whole of existence, throughout all the material universes, or beyond them, or across the Viraja and Brahmaloka, the endless incorporeal firmament, or even in any of the innumerable Vaikuntha planets. Considering the Parakya conception, 4 gradations of increasing excellence are observed. Initially, it is overly tender and immature, Taruna. In the growing stage, it is astringent, Kashaya, then ripe, Pakva, and finally fully ripened, Prapakva. These gradations can be perceived by the topmost devotees who earnestly long to serve transcendent beauty. That is to say, it can be perceived by the Rasik and Bhavuk Bhaktas as they relish the transcendental nectar of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Only they are factually Bhavuk, who are situated on the platform of full, uninterrupted realization of their Sthāyi Bhav, their eternal relationship with divinity rooted in their own particular mode of service. Apart from one Sthāyi Bhav, there are 4 other ingredients of pure transcendent love. When these 4 ingredients of love are integrated with the realization of Sthāyi Bhav, then Ras, the transcendent nectar of divine loving exchange, will arise. Those who are immersed in Ras completely surpass the realm of mundane perceptions. Situated on the platform of the profuse transcendental astonishment within their hearts, which are resplendent with Vishuddha Sattva, the supreme purity of spiritual existence, they forever relish this sublime Ras. Only they who are Rasik, who can relish the astonishing humors of only those who can relish the astonishing humors of transcendence can taste the nectar of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the perfectly succulent fruit of the wish-fulfilling tree of Vedic literature. There is a possibility of choking if one swallows any other fruit. But because this perfectly ripened fruit is fully melted nectar, it contains only juice and is always easy to drink. It has no skin, no hard core, and no interfering network of fibers. Indeed, there is no aspect at all to be discarded. Literatures that are tainted by selfish motives, anyabhilash, expectations of material gain, karma, cultivation of secular knowledge, gyan, or pursuit of mystic power, yoga, and even those literatures that expound a form of devotion to God that is mixed with any of these, Mishra Bhakti, are all entangled with the undesirable, non-essential matters that are covered by a coarse layer of misconception. Unlike these, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a supremely pure and perfectly ripened embodiment of transcendent nectarian ras. Indeed, it is the infinite reservoir. It is the infinite reservoir of the absolute totality of this ras, Sri Krishna himself. Such divine ras is meant to be relished through all stages. Even after the point of liberation, the clan of truly free souls eternally takes pleasure in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The narration of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam should be heard from the mouths of the Paramahansa Vaishnavas, the most precious jewels among liberated souls. Still, the Prakrit Sahajyas hear from orators whose hearts are full of innumerable worthless attachments, anarthas. They are so full of this that they are dedicated to... Let me read this again. The Prakrit Sahajyas hear from orators whose hearts are full of innumerable worthless attachments that they are dedicated to protecting. Such orators are simply obsessed with the flavors of mundane literature, poetry, and syllables. On the pretense of hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the Prakrit Sahajyas simply seek the meager gratification of the material senses, mistaking kuras, the unpalatable flavors of the mundane realm, to be actual ras. Such imitators can never taste the pure, succulent, transcendental mellows of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. One second, I got... Okay. By hearing the explanations of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam sung by liberated Paramahansa like Shukadeva Goswami, a qualified listener... Sorry, guys, I don't know what's wrong with me. Let me reread this. By hearing the explanations of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam sung by a liberated Paramahansa like Shukadeva Goswami, a qualified listener like Parikshit Maharaj, who is fully convinced regarding the temporary nature of human life, will at once become immersed in relishing the nectar of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and remain there forever. Thereafter, such an unqualified listener forgets all his prior lower interests that were unrelated to Krishna and becomes freed from worldly attachment. A precise, written explanation of the 10th canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, grounded in profound and thorough deliberation, is indispensable. Indeed, such a composition, arranged in congruence with the Rupanuga Gaudiya conception, the conception of Sri Chaitanya Dev's apostles headed by Srila Rupa Goswami, elucidating the 10th canto's chapters such as Rasa-pancadhyayi, Brahmar Gīt, and Gopi Gīt, must be set forth without fail. The world is in want of actual beauty, or rup, the conceptions propounded by Srila Rupa Goswami. For currently, only kurup abounds, misshapen conceptions that are opposed to his. In order to broadcast their cleverness and prematurely profess their own elevated status, the Sahajyas recklessly amuse themselves by dallying with these lofty branches of the 10th canto. Abolishing their misguided interpretations is requisite, as is composing the actual... abolishing their misguided interpretations is requisite, as is composing the actual commentaries on Brahmar Gīt, Gopi Gīt, and the rest. Until now, we have simply occupied ourselves in the process of negation, rejecting atat, literally that which is not. For 8 years, our periodical Gaudiya has extensively discussed such issues. The Sahajyas can be greatly benefited by studying these articles. However, it is not possible to become advanced in Hari Bhajan if we limit the scope of our endeavors either to simply negating atat or performing favorable action. The Sahajya Sampradaya asserts, "We will not abandon offenses to chanting the Lord's holy names. We say, we do not chant the holy names with offenses as you do. The latter declaration indicates the pursuance of favorable action, but this alone will not give entrance to Hari Bhajan. Simply being committed to favorable action is not enough. Krishna Anushilanam is absolutely essential. That is, liberally cultivating with every fiber of one's existence the uninterrupted performance of pure spiritual service that is conscientiously devoted to the pleasure and welfare of Krishna. Take the example of an epileptic. Despite his doing favorable activities to ensure his health, he is still subject to recurring seizures at any time. In the same way, in the absence of such sturdy and uninterrupted service, favorable action alone will not prevent the pilgrim on the path of bhakti from periodically losing his healthy spiritual consciousness and falling down. Aided by favorable action alone, he may suddenly stumble on any unfavorable elements appearing in his path, or he may get knocked off balance by consuming the poison of untrue conceptions, mistaking it for ambrosia. While the benefits of singly performing favorable actions that are related to bhakti is not lost even after unlimited lifetimes, still, in this very lifetime, those actions will grant neither emancipation from the mortal sphere, nor the perfection of the soul, nor the ability to perform real Hari Bhajan. The attainment of Krishna will remain completely out of reach for one who does not become captivated by his graceful, beautiful form and qualities. But those who have developed a real greed for rup, graceful beauty, who are longing to serve graceful beauty, they alone gain intimacy with Krishna. The name Shri Rup is what is understood by the word Rup, or graceful beauty. Only those who long to serve graceful beauty know the meaning of Hari Bhajan. They completely depend on the guidance of Shri Rup and place all their hopes in following him. The lotus feet of Shri Rup Manjari are the sole object of adoration and service, and the only perfection for which they yearn is to remain at her lotus feet eternally. It is they who are truly searching for graceful beauty. The commentary on the 10th canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam must be fashioned for them. It is true that we do not approve of the fraudulent interpretations of Bhramar Gīt and Gopi Gīt propounded by the Sahajyas. But then, we must also provide the real explanation in place of the condemned ones. Simply rejecting adverse elements by declaring, not this, offers no real assistance. The positive element, it is this, must be established. Simply rejecting adverse elements leaves one in a negative sphere. It does not bring one to the positive position. The impersonal aspect of the absolute, which is without any comprehensible features, is designated by the word tat, which literally means that. Simply trying to realize tat by exhaustively negating all limited matter is insufficient. Leaving aside the dry investigation of tat, one must enter into the pastimes of sa, which literally means he. He, the absolute personality, the infinite reservoir and original perfection of all transcendent features. One must enter into his pastimes by sequentially realizing the true and absolute nature of his name, his form, his qualities, and the unique glories of his intimate associates. Those who limit their vision to tat and simply engage in the process of negating the unfavorable are bound to make material phenomena their focus. Then there are those who claim that their vision extends to tat sat, namely the absolute tat with transcendental existence, sat. But those who are factually situated in transcendence even perceive the material world, the cosmic manifestation of the Supreme Lord, as a reflection of the original immaculate source, the eternal and incorruptible abode of the absolute divinity. Thus, they see Sa, the non-dual entity, as he who manifests all features in full and who possesses sublime names, forms, qualities, intimate associates, and pastimes. Their vision is Raso Vai Saha, Certainly, he is the divine nectar, ras. He is the absolute form of all sublime nectarian mellows in their entirety. Srila Rupa Goswami explains in the very first verse of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Akila Rasamrita Murti Prasrimara Ruchi Ruddha Taraka Pali Kalita Shama Lalito Radha Preyan Vidur Jayati. Sri Krishna Chandra is supremely glorious. He is the condensed form of all the eternal, supermundane rasas. Indeed, he has not neglected the full expression of any divine sentiment. Just see how he subjugates the extremely submissive gopi Taraka, just as the vernal full moon outshines a tiny star, so that her own effulgence is totally engulfed by his brilliance. And Pali, who is also controlled by him, is just like a constellation keeping the moon at her bosom. His rays overpower her as well. When the vernal moon accepts the night sky as a playground, the atmosphere becomes ideal for love dalliance. In the same way, Sri Krishna makes Shama, who is like the dark blue vault, and Lalita, who is love dalliance personified, his very own. Just as the full moon comes under the powerful influence of the Radha constellation in the spring season, he comes under the control of the prem of Srimati Radhika, who is the embodiment of Mahabhav and the origin of all the Yuteshwaris. Srimati Radhika's love completely eclipses and defeats him. She is his everything, without which he is just the lonely moon. The school of the selfishly motivated karmis and jnanis question, why don't you manufacture salt? Why don't you work as weavers or plow the fields? Why don't you serve people suffering from cholera by becoming their sweepers? Or why don't you cremate the bodies of the deceased? Hoping to perfect their favored means of increasing sensual and mental pleasure, they somehow attempt to subjugate the devotees of Krishna for their purposes. Of course, their cleverness is insignificant compared to the brilliance of Sri Krishna's servants, so there is no possibility that they can ever oppress us. Sri Gaurasundar, Sri Radha Govinda, and all their intimate associates are superlatively worthy masters. As their loving servants, we have placed all of them on our shoulders in respectful subservience, and we will never allow anyone else a place there. We will follow Sri Upadeshamrita, the essential ambrosial commandments propounded by Srila Rupa Goswami. We will abandon what is unfavorable and accept the favorable. But we will never consider the practice of accepting what is favorable to be enough to maintain the progressive flow of our bhakti. We will not become degraded, losing our healthy spiritual consciousness, like the epileptic, who, tortured by reoccurring seizures, violently falls to the ground unconscious. Filled with intense enthusiasm, we will actively cultivate the tendencies of our minds, bodies, and words in the service of Krishna's name and character, Krishna Anushilan. Situate ourselves in Mathura and Vraj, the fully transcendental, oh God, how do you say this word? Facsimiles. One second, let me look this up. Oh, wait. It means an exact copy, especially of written or printed material. Facsimile? Facsimiles. Make a copy of. The ride was facsimiled for another theme park. Okay, so let me try this again. Filled with intense enthusiasm, we'll actively cultivate the tendencies of our mind, body, and words in the service of Krishna's name and character. Situate ourselves in Mathura and Vraj, the fully transcendental facsimiles of Krishna's unmanifest eternal abodes. And we will sing the glorification of his holy name and sublime nature. Thus, we will follow the clear path set forth by Srila Rupa Goswami. Then we will be able to engage in smaran, the act of meditating on Krishna and thus remembering him constantly. We will attain permanent residence on the bank of Radhakund and the beautiful forest grove belonging to our most worshipful goddess. Remaining there forever, we will engage in service to the divine couple under the direction of our eternal guides, whose hearts are the permanent resting place of love for Krishna, the Ashray. Outwardly, we will never leave the shelter of Krishna's holy name, and internally, enveloped in spiritual time, the eternal eightfold divisions of the day, the Ashtakal, we will serve the most cherished beloved of King Rishabhanu's daughter. That is, we will serve Sri Krishna, the most beloved of Radharani, for all time. This achievement is the pinnacle of all our expectations. We have no aspiration besides this. Furthermore, we cannot conceive that any higher aspiration exists, even for greatly liberated souls. In truth, our divine guide, Sri Guru, who is the beloved servant of Krishna, the holy name of Krishna, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which unfolds the pastimes of Krishna, Sri Radha Govinda themselves, and Sri Chaitanya, who is known as Sri Gaur-Sundar, the combined form of Radha Krishna, are all non-different features of the absolute truth. We need not become like the fruit of workers and empiricists who try to fulfill all their separate interests by the worship of the 5 deities, Panchupasana. Their service is never meant for the pleasure of Krishna. Instead, we will render truly pleasing service to Sri Krishna in 5 ways to his 5 non-different features. First, we will serve him in his aspect of his own beloved servant, our divine guide, that Sri Guru. Second, we will serve him as his holy name, his incarnation as transcendent sound. Third, we will worship him as the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Fourth, we will serve him as Radha Krishna. And fifth, we will serve him as Sri Gaur-Sundar. Furthermore, we will worship Krishna with all 5 primary transcendental mellows, Pancharas, as devotee, servant, friend, guardian, and lover. By becoming the devoted follower of Srila Rupa Goswami, or Rupanuga, we will worship Krishna in the paramour conception, Madhur Ras, which completely contains all 5 rasas. We will not be content simply by rejecting the unfavorable, nor we expect to flourish in bhakti simply by accepting the favorable. Rather, we will always actively cultivate the tendency to arrange for Krishna's pleasure, Krishna Anushilan. Sri Chaitanya Dev appeared before us as the embodiment of infinite magnanimity, compassion, and kindness, Audarya Vigraha, for he freely bestowed upon us Unata Ujjvala Ras, the most elevated, brilliant conception of devotional service and paramour love, which has not been revealed for millions of eons. By immersing ourselves in the endless ocean of his magnanimity, we will become the rightful recipients of that same rare treasure. Following in the footsteps of Sri Swarup Damodar Prabhu, his most confidential companion, we will recite Helo Dhunita Kedaya Vishadaya Pronmila Damodaya Shamyach Shastra Vivadaya Rasadaya Chetarpiton Madaya Shashvar Bhakti Vinodaya Samadaya Madhurya Maryadaya Shri Chaitanya Daya Nide Tavadaya Bhuyada Mandodaya. Shri Chaitanya Chandradoy Natak, quoted in Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 10, 119. O Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, ocean of compassion, may your auspicious mercy be awakened everywhere. It easily dispels all kinds of mundane lamentation and it illuminates everything with purity. It thoroughly awakens supreme transcendental bliss and removes all confusion arising from disparities among scriptures. Your auspicious mercy releases a shower of all of the transcendental mellows, leaving one intoxicated. In other words, one becomes situated in the fully condensed bliss of separation, causing the heart to surge with divine madness. Your mercy perpetually stimulates bhakti's own delightful nature, so that by the influence of the original transcendental Cupid, profuse ecstatic transformations are aroused that plunder one's faculty of discrimination between right and wrong. The appearance of your mercy heralds the complete cessation of all of the conditioned soul's selfish desires, and at the same time, it confers the last limit of divine sweetness. Your boundless mercy recklessly distributes the most valuable benediction without any restriction. Please awaken your causeless mercy within my heart. Translated from Śrīla Prabhupāda Harikatamritam, published by Sri Chaitanya Math. Wow, that was a very what to say. That was profound beyond anything. That was just, yeah. This is that kind of article that you need to read a few times. And even then, everything was in this. My God. I think sometime I wanna do a proper reading of this. Like, you know, I've been doing on the Vine of Devotion channel. I practice reading the sentence first, and then I record myself saying it so that I'm not like stuttering, and I get emphasis on the right words and all that. But yeah, I'd like to do that for this. This is really an essential article. All right, thank you so much for joining me in this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Thank you, Rukmini Didi. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Yeah, I messed up a lot in that article, but I wanna redo this article properly. And when I do the readings for Vine of Devotion, it takes me a few hours actually, because I say the same sentence over and over again until I get it just right. So these readings that I do is just off the cuff, and I'm stuttering and messing up. But when I'll put it on Vine of Devotion, it will be smooth and hopefully pleasant to hear. All right, thank you so much, everybody. So tomorrow, I have to find out. Maybe tomorrow we might not have our Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reading. I have to check in with our Rupa Shiksha group. Yeah, if because we've been doing sometimes on Sundays and sometimes on Mondays. So one time a week, I'm not able to read. And so I'll find out which day will work best for everybody. So yes, it is fantastic, isn't it, Champak Didi? All right. Thank you so much for joining me in this. And either I'll see you tomorrow or I'll see you the day after. We'll figure it out. Dandavat pranams, everybody.